So this week I want to take you out of the historical centre of Florence and into the Oltrano District, across the Arno River into the southern part of Florence. Expat Lifestyle with Pads. As always, thumbs up, subscribe, bell notifications on. Okay, let's go, shall we? The meeting point, leaving point is here at the Ponte Vecchio Bridge. Hopefully a quick look at this map provides you with a little bit more context. Now in yellow was that first initial walk that was presented in last week's episode. So this suggested walk is in aqua, and the starting point is at the old bridge, the Ponte Vecchio. So this suggested walk takes us from the Ponte Vecchio bridge and along the riverside walk, like we did last week, to the Santa Trinita Bridge that you can see in front of us. But we're going to walk over the bridge into the southern part of Florence, out of the historical centre into the district known as Oltrano. From there, I'll take you up to Santo Spirito Piazza. It's a beautiful square with some lovely eateries, a little bit more economical, a beautiful basilica, and then across to the Pitti Palace, through San Nicolo, and up to the Piazzale Michelangelo. It's a great walk. Now along the way you'll be interrupted with fantastic views and architecture and so on, so you're going to stop and take photo after photo, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Or you might spy a lovely little cafe or restaurant that you can get back to later in the day perhaps, or that evening, or why not stop there and then? In this walk, we're going to head across the Santa Trinita Bridge. So we're looking west, and you can see the Ferris wheel at the very end, and that's the start of the Cascina Park. So if you're a bit of a runner, you run along the river up to the Cascina Park, and then you can just knock your socks off in there. You can run for kilometres and kilometres. Flat course, but through parkland. So there's your last little glimpse of the Ponte Vecchio for a moment, and we have now crossed the bridge and we're in Santo Spirito. I love this building on the corner here. Look at the private little room. What would you use that for? A reading room? Just great, isn't it? Just fantastic. The laneways around here, I really do enjoy exploring and walking along. So over the bridge it's a right, then a quick left just here, and it's just a short walk up to the Santo Spirito Piazza. This beautiful piazza, Santa Spirito Piazza, it's one of my favourites actually, and I really do encourage you strongly to come up here for an evening meal too. Now we're right in the middle of winter, but as you can see there's still some outdoor eating set up. Sundays there's often a market in here, and I always bring visitors who are staying with us up here for a meal. Summertime it is pretty busy, and it's surrounded by outdoor eating. The trees in the middle here I just really love, and there's a little fountain in the middle. Now let's turn around and I'll show you the exterior of the basilica. Quite modest on the outside, isn't it? Quite modest, but don't be fooled. We've got some work in there of a young Michelangelo. It's great to see. It's a lovely church. What I'll also do is show you a little bit of footage of this piazza, different times of the year. Your job would be to select a restaurant and decide where you're going to have your dinner. And you have a fair selection and the prices are reasonable. And I'm sure you'll agree with me, it's very, very atmospheric. It's summertime, it is very, very busy here. Now, we've just walked up tonight, no bookings, but certainly reservations, summertime. But if you're only here for 2 or 3 nights, it's well worth a visit. Piazza Santo Spirito. Literally 4 or 5 minute walk from Santa Trinita Bridge. From here, it's about a 4 or 5 minute walk. We're going to turn left, and this is the southern end of the Santo Spirito Piazza. We're turning left here and we're heading towards the Pitti Palace. And here we are, your first glimpse of the Pitti Palace. And you know what? The Medici family living at the Palazzo Vecchio in the historical centre, at the political centre of Florence, didn't have a garden for their children to play in. So they bought this palace from family known as the Pittis, who were doing it tough at the time, so they got a bargain. I wouldn't call it a renovator's delight. If you go through these doors here, you go into acres and acres of manicured, I call it parkland really. It's massive, the Bobbly Gardens behind the Pitti Palace. Well worth a visit if you like your gardens and you have time. Alright, so have a little look at this. It sort of looks across the western part of Florence. But hear the birds chirping. Oh, it's great. I love that. So in the last episode I talked about the Vasari corridor, which was built and ran from Palazzo Vecchio through Uffizi Museum over the Ponte Vecchio bridge, and it came all the way up to this palace, allowing the Medici to walk in absolute solitude above the common people. Now, following this road along, it'll take us back down towards the southern end of the Ponte Vecchio bridge. Really enjoyable walk, this one, particularly of an evening, because the lights on this stone just looks beautiful. So look, it's only about 200 metres along this laneway down to the Ponte Vecchio once more. It's a lovely little spot off Florence, the Oltrano District. And look, we can see in front of me there, that's the Ponte Vecchio bridge from the southern side. And to my right, I'll just turn around this souvenir shop here and just pan up and see the Vasari corridor. So just to give you a bit of context, there's the Ponte Vecchio bridge. We can see the Vasari corridor above that, and it winds its way from here. It heads up from where we've walked up to the Pitti Palace. Now, that's been under renovation for about 3 years, I guess. Apparently it's opening up for viewing this May, so I'm really looking forward to getting into there. Now, I'm walking this way. I've just detoured a little bit because I just remembered one of my favourite little wine bars is here right in front of me. The Fox and Grapes. Here it is, just here. Now, I'm sure you want to sample some local wine, and they do have wine from elsewhere as well, but this is called La Volpe e l'Uova, the Fox and Grape. Well worth a visit, and you can see some of these tables now have been reserved. So all times of year, it's very, very popular, that place. And I must admit, I've sampled 1 or 2 reds there as well. I'm a caring, compassionate sort of guy. When it comes to helping support the local businesses The Pinocchio store in front of me, did you know? The author of Pinocchio is a Florentino man. So there we get another nice look at the Ponte Vecchio from the Oltrano side of Florence. And look at that, that's a lovely image, isn't it? With the dome, the Duomo in the background. Now we're heading east along the Arno. We're heading towards San Nicolo and up towards the Piazzale Michelangelo. The beautiful lookout that gives you a postcard view of Florence. So behind me there's a nice little restaurant in the corner there called SignorVino, Mr. Wine. So it's a wine bar, wine shop, but they've got a nice little restaurant. Now if you're wanting a meal that overlooks the Ponte Vecchio, see the balcony there? So I've sat there in the corner, had a lovely meal, and it's such a beautiful setting. We had evening rowers on the river doing their nightly training, and sat there, had a lovely steak meal, lovely red, and we looked at the Ponte Vecchio all night. So SignorVino, that's a possibility for you. So we're heading back towards San Nicolo right now. So I'll flip the camera around now because we're heading along a lovely laneway up towards Piazzale Michelangelo. Alright, so you won't forget this building as a landmark. When you're doing this walk, we just veer to the right. So we move off the Arno River, although that would be a nice walk. But look, I do prefer this laneway. From the river or from San Nicolo, which one's the toughest? Look, they're both similar, but I think probably from San Nicolo, the climb up from this way we're climbing is probably a little bit harder. Now we've got a few people walking along here, haven't we? And I bet you they're all heading up to the Piazzale Michelangelo. In summertime, it's pretty busy along here, so you can't get lost, just follow the crowd. There's 2 or 3 nice little perfumeries along here too, whereby you can go in and they'll mix up something to your specific tastes and requirements, no doubt about that. And I have completed an episode on perfume here in Florence. It's well worth having a look at. So we're on Via San Nicolo. As I said, some nice areas to eat, as there are just the other side of the gate. And look, it's a steep walk up, but it's really rewarding because halfway up and above that point you do get some lovely views. So remember to keep looking back and checking. You get some lovely glimpses of the Duomo through the trees. So there's the defensive wall, the original wall. This was probably wall number 6, because as Florence expanded as a medieval city, so too did the need to build more walls to protect what Florence had. So we're not far away from conquering the mountain around this hairpin bend, and we're nearly there. But see what I mean? Stop, check where you've come from, and look, I've timed this one fairly well because as you can see we're on sunset now. See what I mean by checking back? We get a very nice glimpse, don't we, of those iconic structures that we know all too well belong to Florence. And the sun is setting. We've conquered the climb. Now, Basilica Miniature, buried within, the author of Pinocchio. What about that view there? Duomo. Hey, that's magic. That's why I encourage you to come up to Piazzale Michelangelo. No cost, this is a free one. All it costs you is a bit of energy, but it's well rewarded It's well rewarded, without a doubt. And might I add, any time of day, it doesn't matter, but you know, you come up here early morning, you'll have the viewing platform to yourself. So behind me there is one of two copies of Michelangelo's David. This David is bronze. The other copy is in front of the Palazzo Vecchio, and the original, of course, is in the Accademia Galleria. So from here, the Piazzale Michelangelo, we're going to exit down to the river via this road, and there's steps underneath those trees, and it'll bring us out at the Giuseppe Poggi Piazza. Crossing the river once more, we'll end up at the Santa Croce Basilica, which is directly in front of me there, and that will conclude the walk that I suggest you do. All free. So rewarding, so enjoyable. Now, you're going to spend some time up here, that's for sure, because there's so many beautiful photos that you can take. As well as that, you might want to sit down on the steps, which a lot of people do, with some beer, some vino, and just enjoy the atmosphere, regardless of the time of year. It's so atmospheric up here. So what do you think, everyone? It's a pretty good walk, isn't it? And we'll finish at Santa Croce Basilica, which is directly in front, and that is a lovely basilica. It's one of my favourites. Look, it's notable for who is buried within. Beautiful watchtower this on the Arno. Now, if you were in medieval times, you probably wouldn't stand around where I am, because see if you can work out why. See that hole there? So from the Piazzale Michelangelo, we walk west along the Arno, which takes us to the bridge that is directly opposite the Ponte Vecchio. And that's why this bridge is in my recommendations, because that's a lovely view, isn't it? Go for it here with some photos, some selfies and so on. So from this point, once we cross the river, I'm going to show you a nice little cafe with an Australian influence. The owner, Chloe, she's an Aussie, and she's married an Italian fella, and that cafe sells some fantastic desserts, cakes. It's a favourite of mine. On the weekend, I'll walk from the apartment, it's about 1.5 km or so, get 2 or 3, take them home, have that with a coffee. They're beautiful. Lovely brekkies there too. So I'll show you that cafe, and from there to the Santa Croce Basilica to conclude this suggested itinerary, this suggested walk. And look, I'm sure you'll enjoy it. So once on this side of the bridge, we just turn right, so we're heading east once more, and Melaleuca, that cafe that I suggest you visit, is about 60 metres along. So there's Melaleuca Cafe, Lovely cakes and pastries, brunches. We're going to turn left at that point, and that will take us towards Basilica Santa Croce. So here we are, coming into the Santa Croce Piazza, with Basilica Santa Croce being the focal point at the eastern end of this beautiful piazza. The big statue in front of me, Dante Alighieri, considered the father of Italian literature and language. Here we go, our first little glimpse of the Piazza Santa Croce. This is a beautiful basilica to visit. This square that I'm standing in the middle of hosts the Christmas markets, and mid-year Calcio Storico, historical football that was played, or a style of football that was played back in medieval times. It is brutal and still is today. It gets sold out. It's contested by the 4 key districts here in Florence, so I'm going to try and get tickets this year. It's pretty full on. It'd be great to witness. Now the Florence School of Leather is just behind the cathedral. It's on beautiful grounds. System. But the grounds here are just lovely, just lovely. The back of the Santa Croce church, I think, is beautiful. The stonework, rustic. Even though the school itself is fairly recent, have a look at this. Such an historic building. So it is at this point that this suggested walking itinerary concludes, and from the Piazza Santa Croce I'll just show you the laneways. I'll turn around. You could take any of those laneways and they will wind back towards Duomo, or back towards the Ponte Vecchio, or perhaps back towards where you're staying. Please provide feedback. Your comments are really appreciated. I love giving advice, which some people are asking for too. Now, if you've got feedback regarding a particular aspect of Florence you'd like to know a little bit more about, also drop me a line. I'll be only too happy to explore that for you, if I haven't already. As always, thumbs up, subscribe, bell notifications on. I'll see you next episode. Ciao.